Picture this. You're holding a secret so dangerous that if discovered, it would end the American Revolution before it even began. December 1780, New York Harbor. A woman walks through British checkpoints, hidden in her shoe, a single piece of paper. That paper contains intelligence so explosive, so earth-shattering, that it will literally save America from total annihilation. But here's what will shock you. This wasn't just any message. This was the product of America's most dangerous secret. A spy network so sophisticated, so invisible, that even George Washington himself used a code name. You think you know the American Revolution? Think again, because everything you learned in school is only half the story. Today, you're about to discover the shadow war that saved America. A war fought not with muskets and cannons but with invisible ink, secret codes, and a courage so extraordinary it defies belief. And here's the terrifying truth. Without these ordinary people, there would be no America. Let me take you back to the most desperate moment in American history, 1776, the year that was supposed to birth a nation. Instead, it nearly buried one. Picture George Washington, the man you think you know from dollar bills and monuments. But in 1776, he wasn't a legend. He was a desperate general, witnessing the slow collapse of his army. The Continental Army wasn't just losing battles. It was being systematically annihilated. The British controlled New York City, the beating heart of American commerce. They had the world's most powerful navy, the best trained soldiers, unlimited resources. But they had something even more devastating: perfect intelligence. Every move Washington planned, the British knew about it first. Every troop movement, every strategy, every desperate gambit, they saw it coming like thunder after lightning. By winter of 1778, the revolution was dying. Continental soldiers were deserting by the thousands. The treasury was empty. European allies were quietly backing away. Even Washington's own officers were plotting against him. But here's what you need to understand about this moment. Washington wasn't just facing military defeat. He was staring into the abyss of total intelligence blindness. Imagine fighting a war where your enemy can see every card in your hand while you're playing completely blind. That's when Washington made a decision that would change everything. He needed to level the playing field. He needed spies, but not just any spies. He needed ghosts. Enter the man whose name was classified for 150 years, Benjamin Tallmadge, Washington's secret spy master, a man so dangerous to British interests that even mentioning his real job was treason. Tallmadge looked at the Intelligence War 7 and saw something everyone else missed. The British were winning because they were playing by the old rules. Military officers gathering intelligence, soldiers asking questions, uniforms trying to blend in. But Tallmadge had a radical idea. What if you didn't use soldiers at all? What if you recruited ordinary people, farmers, mothers, shop owners, people so normal, so invisible, that they could walk through enemy lines carrying state secrets, and no one would ever suspect? His first recruit would become a legend. But history would only know him by a number. Agent 722. His real name was Abraham Woodhull, a Long Island farmer who sold vegetables for a living. A man so ordinary that British soldiers wouldn't give him a second glance. But here's the genius of Woodhull's cover. He regularly traveled to New York City to sell vegetables to the very British officers he was spying on. Picture this scene. British generals sitting down to dinner, eating fresh produce from Abraham Woodhull's farm, laughing, drinking wine, discussing troop movements and battle plans. And the whole time, their humble vegetable farmer is memorizing every word. They were literally feeding intelligence to the enemy while the enemy fed them dinner. But Woodhull faced a terrifying problem. How do you get military secrets from occupied New York to Washington's army without getting caught and hanged as a traitor? That's when Tallmadge recruited someone even more dangerous than a spy. He recruited a ghost who could hide in plain sight. A woman. For over 200 years, she was known only by 3 numbers. Agent 355. Her real identity was classified at the highest levels of government. Presidents didn't know her name. Generals carried her secrets to their graves. She was so secret that for 2 centuries, historians weren't even sure she existed. Today, we know the truth. Her name was Anna Strong, a mother of 8 children, living on the shores of Long Island Sound, living under British military occupation, living a double life so dangerous it could have gotten her entire family executed. But Anna Strong had something that made her the perfect spy. She was invisible. British soldiers saw her every day, hanging laundry, tending to her children, living the life of an ordinary colonial housewife. They had no idea they were looking at one of America's most dangerous weapons, because Anna Strong had developed something extraordinary, the most ingenious communication system in the history of espionage, and it was hiding in plain sight. Every morning, Anna Strong would hang her laundry outside. Just like every other housewife in occupied Long Island, British patrols walked past her clothesline dozens of times each day. But what they didn't know was that they were walking past the most sophisticated intelligence communication network in North America. Here's how it worked. If Anna hung a black petticoat on her line, it meant Agent 722 had urgent intelligence waiting for pickup. But here's the brilliant part. The number of white handkerchiefs she hung next to the petticoat told Woodhull exactly which of 6 secret dead drops contained his orders. 1 handkerchief meant dead drop number 1. 2 handkerchiefs meant dead drop number 2. British intelligence officers could stare directly at this system and see nothing but a housewife's laundry. For months, this system worked flawlessly. Intelligence flowed from New York to Washington's headquarters, like water through hidden channels, and the British never suspected a thing. But there was still one missing piece of the puzzle. The ring needed someone inside New York City itself, someone with access to the highest levels of British command, someone who could overhear the most sensitive military conversations. They found him in the most unlikely place. Lower Manhattan, 1779. A modest coffee house sits on a busy corner. British officers gather here every morning to drink coffee, read newspapers, and share the latest gossip from headquarters. They have no idea that the quiet man serving their coffee is recording their every word. Meet Robert Townsend, Agent 723, a successful businessman who ran one of New York's most popular coffee establishments. A man so trusted by British officers that they treated his coffee house like their private club. But Townsend wasn't just serving coffee. He was serving America's cause with intelligence so valuable it would change the course of history. Picture the scene. British generals relaxed and off-duty, discussing tomorrow's troop movements over their morning brew, complaining about supply problems, debating strategy, sharing classified correspondence. And the whole time, their trusted coffee merchant is memorizing every detail. But Townsend had an even more brilliant cover. He was a writer for the Royal Gazette, a loyalist newspaper that supported the British cause. This gave him something priceless: the perfect excuse to ask questions, to interview officers, visit military installations, and travel freely throughout occupied New York, all in the name of journalism. But here's what made the Culper Ring truly revolutionary. It wasn't just the people, it was their technology. The Culper Ring used the most sophisticated communication methods of the 18th century. They developed a numerical code where every important word was replaced by a number. Washington was 711, attack was 7, immediately was 8, British was 9. New York was 727. Even if the British intercepted a message, it would look like random numbers. But the code had one more layer of protection that made it virtually unbreakable. Invisible ink. Made from a chemical compound that only appeared when exposed to heat, their messages looked like completely blank pieces of paper to anyone who intercepted them. A British soldier could hold the key to defeating their own army and never know it. For over 2 years, this system worked perfectly. Intelligence flowed from the heart of British-occupied New York directly to Washington's headquarters. The ring operated in complete secrecy. Their identities were protected, their methods were undetectable. And then, everything almost fell apart. September 1780. America's most trusted general is about to commit the ultimate betrayal. Benedict Arnold, the hero of Saratoga, Washington's most valued commander. A man so trusted that Washington gave him command of West Point, the most important fortress in America. Arnold was selling military secrets to the British for gold. But here's what terrified Washington. Arnold had discovered something about the Culper Ring. Not everything, but enough to threaten the entire network. September 21st, 1780. American forces captured a British courier near Tarrytown. Hidden in his boot, They found documents that made Washington's blood run cold. The British knew there were American spies operating in New York. They didn't know who they were, but they were actively hunting them, and they were getting dangerously close. Anna Strong received an encrypted message that made her hands shake. "The hunters are coming. Go dark immediately." For weeks, the Culper Ring went completely silent. No messages, no intelligence, no communication whatsoever. Washington was flying blind again, just when the war was reaching its most critical phase. The British increased security throughout New York. They began random searches, interrogations, surveillance. Any one of the ring members could be arrested, tortured, and executed at any moment. The shadow war that was saving America had gone dark. But then, something extraordinary happened. Robert Townsend intercepted a piece of intelligence so important that he decided to risk everything, his life, his family, his business, to get it to Washington. This intelligence would change the course of history. July 1781, Robert Townsend's coffee house. Two British naval officers are having what they think is a private conversation. They have no idea that every word they speak is being memorized by their coffee merchant. What Townsend heard that day would determine whether America lived or died as a nation. A massive British naval fleet was secretly sailing toward Virginia to reinforce General Cornwallis at Yorktown. But there was more. The British were planning to abandon their positions in New York and concentrate their entire force in the South. They believed this would finally crush the rebellion once and for all. Townsend realized he was holding the fate of America in his hands. But how could he get this information to Washington without exposing the entire spy network? What happened next was the most complex intelligence operation in American history. Townsend encoded the message using the Culper cipher. Then he wrote it in invisible ink on what appeared to be a blank piece of paper. He gave it to a courier who rode to Long Island and passed it to another agent. That agent crossed Long Island Sound by boat under cover of darkness. On the Connecticut shore, he handed the message to another courier, who rode through the night to another safe house where it was passed to yet another agent. 6 different people, 8 days of travel, hundreds of miles through enemy territory. Any one of them could have been captured, and the entire operation would have failed. August 15th, 1781. The message reached George Washington. Washington read the intelligence and immediately understood what it meant. For the first time in the war, he had perfect information about British strategy, while they remained completely unaware that their plans had been compromised. Within 48 hours, Washington made the most audacious decision of his military career. He would march his entire army 450 miles south to Virginia. He would trap Cornwallis at Yorktown before the British reinforcements could arrive. It was the ultimate gamble. If the Culper Ring's intelligence was wrong, Washington would march his army into a trap and lose the war. But the intelligence was perfect. 6 weeks later, on October 19, 1781, General Cornwallis walked out of Yorktown and surrendered his entire army to George Washington. The war was over. America had won. But here's the truth that will shock you. Without the Culper Ring's intelligence, Yorktown would never have happened. Washington would never have known to march south. Cornwallis would have received his reinforcements. The British would have crushed the rebellion and executed every founding father as a traitor. The battle that won American independence happened because of 3 ordinary people whose names were classified for centuries. November 25, 1783. British ships sail out of New York Harbor for the last time. The war is over. America is free. And somewhere in the crowd watching the British departure, 3 ordinary people know a secret that will never be told. The Culper Ring officially disbanded that day. Abraham Woodhull returned to his farm on Long Island. Anna Strong continued raising her 8 children. Robert Townsend went back to running his coffee business. They never spoke publicly about what they had done. They took their secrets to their graves. But their story doesn't end there, because what they created changed the world forever. The techniques pioneered by the Culper Ring became the foundation of modern intelligence. Dead drops, signal systems, invisible ink, coded communications, civilian recruitment, safe houses, counter-surveillance, compartmentalized operations. They didn't just win the American Revolution, they invented American intelligence. And here's what will blow your mind. The CIA studies their methods to this day. The NSA has declassified documents analyzing their codes. Military academies around the world teach courses on Culper Ring tradecraft. During World War II, Allied intelligence officers used techniques perfected by Anna Strong's clothesline signals. In the Cold War, CIA agents used dead drops inspired by Abraham Woodhull's methods. Modern intelligence gathering still relies on the civilian recruitment principles created by Benjamin Tallmadge. But here's the most incredible part. Right now, today, somewhere in a government building, intelligence officers are using techniques perfected by a farmer, a mother, and a coffee shop owner over 240 years ago. The invisible war they fought in the shadows of the American Revolution is still being fought today. But there's one final secret about the Culper Ring that will change everything you thought you knew about this ring. Remember Agent 355? Anna Strong, the woman whose identity was classified for over 200 years? Historians now believe there wasn't just one Agent 355. There were multiple women operating under that code name, an entire network of female spies whose existence was so secret that even other Culper Ring members didn't know about them. These women moved through British society like ghosts. They attended military balls, charmed British officers, gathered intelligence at dinner parties. They were hiding in plain sight at the highest levels of enemy society. And here's what's truly mind-blowing. We still don't know all their names. Even today, in 2025, classified documents about the Culper Ring remain sealed in government archives. There are secrets about America's first spy network that are still too sensitive to reveal, which means the shadow war that saved America is still shrouded in shadows. Think about that the next time you drive past a farm, the next time you see laundry hanging on a clothesline, the next time you sit in a coffee shop. You're looking at the places where ordinary people once changed the course of human history. Abraham Woodhull, the farmer who fed vegetables to his enemies while stealing their secrets. Anna Strong, the mother who turned her clothesline into America's most sophisticated communication network. Robert Townsend, the coffee shop owner who served more than just beverages to the cause of freedom. They were America's first spies. They were the Culper Ring, and without them, there would be no America. The story you just heard took countless hours of digging through classified archives, declassified CIA files, and hidden records most Americans will never see, because you deserve to know the real history, the truths buried beneath the official story. If you want more of these hidden chapters, hit that subscribe button right now, because coming up, I'm uncovering something even more explosive. The US military experiment that killed its own soldiers, because uncovering the truth is the highest form of patriotism.